This is a new tea time chat about why all makeup seems to be the same. Welcome to everyone watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today I have a new tea time chat for you guys in which I want to chat about one of my observations while I was in London. I already mentioned it in my haul that I showed you on Thursday, but that I really felt like, especially at the drugstore, like walking around, no brand really stands out to me. Everything just looks and feels the same. So on the one hand, I want to do a little bit of a rant about that, but the second part of this video, I would like to discuss why I think it is, because I do think it's sort of like an almost natural evolution of the kind of way we've seen makeup trends evolving over the past few years. So I do understand why it happens. But at the same time, I'm like, why? Why do we do these things to ourselves? So let's unpack and let me know in a comment down below what you feel about this. Do you also feel, if you set foot in a makeup store, that everything is just kind of feeling like it's all the same thing, just a slightly different name of the brand that's being slapped on it? Let me know how you feel about that. So the way I feel about that, if you can already tell from the way I've phrased this entire intro, is that I really don't like the way that this development is going. It just starting to feel, and I've already noticed this as I was doing like new makeup releases, that all brands are doing renditions of the same thing times 100. You know, it's like not just one brand doing it, it's all of them. All across the board, but I especially noticed it when I was in Superdrug in the UK last week. I went to London, I had a great time, but I had difficulty especially finding good drugstore items because everything was either something I had already tried or it was just something that looked like everything else that was already on the market. And then especially if it's done like by a L'Oreal or a Maybelline, those are like usually slightly higher priced brands at the drugstore, that I didn't really feel like spending my money on that. Like, why is this all of a sudden going to be any better than the thing that looks super similar from a brand that's like half the price, you know? So for me, it's like just raising a lot of questions, like, do we still find makeup then worth it if it's no longer unique and a standout? And I definitely think that that is something that we've just seen happening a lot. When it comes to makeup, I feel that when I came into the makeup sphere about 15 years ago or so, makeup was a lot more about aesthetics, about how the product looked and not necessarily how it looked on you. So for me, you know, I sort of came of age when it came to my makeup application at the time of like the release of Urban Decay Naked palettes, but at the same time, Urban Decay had those like shadow boxes, what they were called, and they had these really elaborate box designs with like pop-ups and like trays and the entire boudoir collection that Too Faced used to do. Like everything was very packaging and sort of like eye-catching to look at. And I remember especially like when eyeshadow palettes truly became a thing and it became the biggest hype ever. We're talking like from like the 2016 to 2018 era, I really feel we're talking about here. There were a lot of eyeshadow palettes that looked interesting, but then when you like covered 2 shades up with your fingers, or if you like were able to replace the background of the palette for a more neutral background and not like shiny gold, the palette all of a sudden started to look really boring and not that different at all. So I definitely feel like we're moving away from exciting makeup to look at, especially in mainstream beauty. I'm not talking indie brands here. Don't come into the comments and say, but indie brands. I know. Indie brands are still doing this very visually pleasing sort of makeup. There's still a market for it. But don't forget that us here in the online beauty community, we are beauty enthusiasts. We are not, you know, your plain run-of-the-mill person who's just walking into a store to pick up a new mascara. That's not who we are, yeah? Maybe we started off as those people at some point in time. I know I certainly was. But we've evolved into these like beauty monsters who keep on top of trends, who know brands that nobody else knows. So especially if you hear me say something like Bella Beauty Bar and Blend Bunny and you instantly can think of a couple of products they do, or Unearthly Cosmetics, then you know what I'm talking about, right? They're not like the kind of things you can walk into stores and like buy for most people. So I'm really talking about sort of like mainstream beauty and where it's going. I remember like back in the day, I already mentioned Urban Decay. They were an exciting brand. They had different colored makeup. It was just something different to look at. But even mainstream brands like a Maybelline, like a L'Oreal, like an Essence, Catrice, NYX, like all of these brands, especially at the drugstore, because I felt like a lot of people who were beauty enthusiasts would go to the drugstore to try new things. And you're like more high-end things like your YSL, Dior kind of makeup that you can like buy from a department store was more aimed at like mature women who knew what they wanted and they just came in for like that one foundation, and there was a very different market there. But I'm starting to feel that because of how beauty has evolved, we're starting to see this switch that even in the drugstore, it's no longer about trying new and exciting things. It's just like buying what works, and that's what people want. And therefore brands make the products look like something that's recognizable as something that might work. So this like skincare focused, more high-end looking packaging, but then the products and the colors inside it are very safe. And I definitely think that this is sort of just an evolution of where makeup is coming from. So as much as I'm like, oh, it kind of pays me. Like it used to be, like I used to be super excited to go on my yearly London trip and to go like to all the different beauty stores and to like see what's out there because there's loads of brands that I cannot buy. And it's always really, really, really exciting for me to see that. And I remember going into Superdrug and like doing my little round and going like, really? This is what's on offer? And I definitely think that I didn't have that sort of feeling when I went last November, because last November it was around Christmas time, it was the Black Friday sales. So I feel that there are more special collection out and brands seem to be making more of an effort towards like the holiday season to make their brand look a little bit more appealing than right now when I went in May, when it's like crickets, right? This time of year, I've seen this for years in my stats on my blog and also here on YouTube. Around this time of year, May time, is when my views start to go down. It's when you see fewer like deals happening with influencers. There's just fewer new releases. It's much more like, oh, we're all going on vacation and all we need is sunscreen. You know, it's sort of that vibe that's going on. And then from like September onwards, things start to pick up because people are starting to prepare for like Halloween season and the holiday season. So I also think it was the time of year when I went that there wasn't that much exciting going on. But I actually feel that gave me a better feel of what's out there than if I do go into this like more exciting period of time, you could say, because it means that I could really have a feel for what brands are putting out like normally. And before people come to me and say, yeah, but you have makeup in the Netherlands, you could have known this, right? I live in one of the major cities of the country and I have access to one of the largest drugstores in my city. It's nothing like the things you will find in bigger cities in like London or Paris or like other major cities here in Europe. Especially makeup wise, I've mentioned this a lot in the past. The Netherlands isn't very makeup forward, despite what people might think, because they know of Nikkie tutorials and they think that everybody in the Netherlands is very makeup forward. It's just not really a thing. Culturally, we are very conservative in the way we look. There's a saying in Dutch, doe maar gewoon, dan doe je al gek genoeg, which translates roughly to be normal, that is crazy enough. And that's sort of what most people live their lives by. Wearing a full face of makeup for like 95% of the population is just not a thing. I stand out with the way I look and I dress. I always have, it's nothing new to me, but within the Netherlands as a country as a whole, if you just walk around the city, there isn't a lot going on for most people. If they like have a very obvious beauty routine, it's very often brows or lash focused or hair focused, not makeup. It's just not a thing. So even for me, like living in a bigger city and having access to larger versions of stores that we have here and I can like go to like the Dutch equivalent of, you know, a Selfridges and like very easily. It's right on my doorstep, but I had not clocked it in the same way as I did when I was in the UK. Also because I don't have access to certain brands. Like there are certain brands that just aren't for sale here or that are harder to find. And if we do get the brands, very often we don't have the same range of products. So that's usually a thing. A brand that has really is being pushed here in the Netherlands, as in like it's really come to every single drugstore now, is a brand like NYX. They have taken over a lot of the Makeup Revolution consoles actually. We now have MCO Beauty, and I believe both Fenty Beauty and Rare Beauty have just made it to the Netherlands, like in the past month or so. So just to give you an idea of what I'm used to seeing, so to really find a great variety of different brands in one place, in one store, with decent sized gondolas, with plenty of stock, is something I don't normally have access to. So going to London and seeing this, and being in this major city, and whether I'm going into a Space NK or a Superdrug, or I go into Selfridges, or I go into Liberty's, and just walking around and just being bored to tears with what's on offer, really sort of drove the point home for me where I'm like, it's all just starting to look the same. I've already commented several times in my new makeup releases videos that I feel like a lot of brands, of course, have been doing like loads of the same blushes all the time. Like there isn't anything going on that is like super new and exciting. And I just really thought that it was me, that it was just me being a little strung out and just, I've tried so much. I've been in this online makeup reviewing game for more than a decade. I've tried my fair share of products, right? And I've tried more than the average person because of me making videos. And that also means that I've tried products that I wouldn't have tried if it was just for my own personal usage. I have people who come on here like, yeah, but I've been doing my makeup for like 50 years, so I've tried a lot too. If you've only been buying what interests you, then you haven't tried the same. Like I've tried entire ranges of lipsticks. I've tried like multiple shades of different things or products that just really I wouldn't have bought or been sent if it wasn't for me making videos. And then you get a very different feel of what's out there, because I do always, like very often I do want to try those products just to give them a whirl, just to, you know, for a laugh, to see how it goes, if it is anything that I had expected. And sometimes those products surprise me and they become unexpected favorites, but more often than not, I'm like, yeah, this is why I wouldn't have picked that up because XYZ or whatever. But I think that just really puts a different perspective on things, and I really thought that it was a me problem, that it was just me being fatigued because I have tried so much and I just have my favorites and nothing can really top it. But now I've just come to realize that it's a much bigger problem. It's not just me, it's actually what is being sold that is the issue, why I also feel bored with it. So I wanted to unpack as well in this video why I think that started to happen. Why did we move away from exciting looking packaging, things that look sparkly and that give you this like dopamine boost just to look at it? And I definitely think what happened, I think this is again COVID times that we need to like take into account here as well. A lot of people became more focused on like health and skin and fitness, and that's definitely a goal for a lot of people, especially people who are sort of coming into the age where they have their own money to spend, where they have a little bit of extra cash to spend on something as frivolous as makeup. Because let's be real here, makeup is a luxury product. It's not something you need. It is something that, you know, we are definitely being marketed into needing. And there are just certain laws as to who you can market to, of course, in a lot of countries. And I think that now Gen Z is coming off age and them just like growing up in a very different way and finding other things important. Therefore, the brands are also changing. So this whole like skin focused sort of, well, I call it boring, but that's not the right term for it, of course. It's just, I feel like aesthetically everything is starting to look the same. There is a brand that they sell in Boots, I believe. It's called Sculpted by Amy. I believe they're an Irish brand. And I have been asked if I can try it, but I've stood in that on front of their gondola like 3 times now, and I don't know what to buy because most of the gondola is the same foundation in 40 shades, and I can't even figure out what my shade is. So it's, again, very skin focused. There are very few colorful products. It's very sort of like foundation, concealer, powder heavy, if that's what they're focusing on. There's even a huge skincare elements, even with brands at the drugstore. I bought a palette from Troublemaker Beauty, which I believe someone told me in the comments. It's like an MUA Revolution owned brand, apparently. So it is like one of those sub brands that they've done. That is very sort of Gen Z focused. It felt very young to me with like bright, colorful packaging. So that's probably why it caught my eye. But a lot of the products they sell are like a lip balm and a hand cream and those kind of things. And it's not even real makeup almost. It's very sheer, barely there sort of products. Whereas I'm used to going into a drugstore and finding like bright purple eyeshadow. You know what I mean? Like the contrast is just really, really big, and we're just not finding those things anymore. And I definitely think that, of course, there are still brands who sell these things. I think if you go to a MAC counter, you can still find most of these things. But I'm just starting to feel that, on the one hand, just a different generation coming into their own and finding other things important, it plays a role. That is definitely part of it. But it's also algorithms and online, and the fact that brands know even better than they ever have before what gets the clicks and what sells. So I definitely think that that goes into it as well, that brands are just focusing on what drives sales, and they are just less willing to experiment and giving us things that maybe excite a few of us beauty enthusiasts that wear bright pink and pastel makeup on a random Friday, because that's what I'm wearing today. I just need to go get a haircut today. I'm getting my hair cut and colored later today. So I did get dressed for the occasion, and I'm wearing this really beautiful like pastel eyeshadow. And I just wanted to pair it with a brighter pop of color. I usually do that when I wear black because I don't like black against my skin tone all that much. So I always want to have a nice little accent there just to brighten things up. And but like a lot of people don't live their lives this way. So I definitely think that on the one hand, it's like trends and just aesthetics and like what people find important on the one hand, but it's also brands just really no longer like taking a risk and just going for what actually makes them money. So many exciting brands have gone under in the past couple of years as well. I remember going to London to find Illamasqua. Like that was a brand that I really, really enjoyed. They had some beautiful products. But I believe they went bankrupt like 5 years ago or something like that. So they used to even have a standalone store in Soho. I remember going there once upon a time, like way back in the day. Too Faced used to have a standalone store on Carnaby Street, as did Urban Decay. Those are gone. There are some standalone Charlotte Tilbury stores in London. I know that much. But that is one of those brands where I'm like, I mean, I went into Charlotte Tilbury last November, and there is a counter here in Rotterdam. If I do want to pick anything up, I can. And the ladies there are lovely. Like the MUAs are lovely, and they're very helpful, and they're lovely people. But I've just tried so much from the brand, and everything still looks and feels the same as it did 5 years ago. I'm like, where's the innovation? And I definitely think the innovation that we're seeing within makeup in the past 5 years is more formula focused rather than looks focused. So the aesthetic is sort of like the same still, and we've been improving formulas, which is a good thing. I mean, I really feel that if I think of like makeup I love, like I did a couple of videos going back to like my older makeup collection and looking at declutters and what I had at the time, I definitely do think like there's always a lot of like negativity about products being reformulated and stuff. But for me, for the most part, I feel we have really we've made some major steps, especially in terms of formulations of foundations and powders and like all of these like very skincare focused like blushes with skincare in them that look super dewy that I love. Really good cream and liquid products that just last a lot longer than they used to. I remember back in the day when I first started getting into makeup and I would buy a cream or a liquid and within like 3 months it would have dried out and it would become unusable. I feel we're not getting that as much anymore. You know what I mean? So quality-wise, like actual formula quality-wise, I feel that that's where the brands have invested most, and they haven't invested a lot in what things look like. And I definitely think that now that we're seeing, like there's this slight change, because I feel like what we see in stores is always a little slower to come out than what is actually going on online. I'm seeing a lot more people doing eyeshadow again, and I'm seeing a lot more people wearing more makeup and going into like matte foundations again. I'm like, there is really starting to like come, like the pendulum is slowly swinging in the other direction again. And I think 5 years from now, if I'm still making videos then, I could make a video like this and probably say like, oh yeah, we had this really bold glam sort of 2016 kind of makeup again. But in like, you know, it's sort of like same text, different font kind of idea, you know what I mean? So I definitely feel that that's going on a little bit here as well, where we had this trend of it being all a little bit more minimal, very skin focused, but I also think that people are starting to like have fun a little bit more again with their makeup. So that's just the thing I'm suspecting is going to happen really soon, and I hope that that's also going to bring more excitement to the beauty stores, especially at the drugstore. We need more whimsy, we need more fun, and of course I know where to find the whimsy and the fun because I have plenty of indie eyeshadow to try that, and I love trying like all the C beauty brands that are doing all the whimsy stuff and like interesting lip colors. And for me, that's one of the reasons actually why I go to K beauty and C beauty, because I feel a lot of the innovation we see in Western makeup brands is actually coming from Asian beauty brands. So I'm sort of like trying to get ahead of the curve there by just going to the source material rather than waiting for it to hit our market. A brand of Rare Beauty, like Rare Beauty, is actually known for doing that. A lot of their makeup is actually manufactured in Korea. So it's a lot of like K beauty formulas, but adapted to a more Western makeup taste, you could say. Yeah, that's definitely something that I feel is starting to happen. So I can't wait what the future will bring. I hope it's just a phase. I'm sure it is. But like I said, I do find it slightly worrying that brands seem to have more of a focus only on playing it safe and not really going for the super exciting things anymore. But I know that a lot of people have already said that for years, that's been happening. And I agree with them. It was definitely happening already for a few years, but it's now like it's really hit its low point, I find. So I don't know how you guys feel. Let me know in a comment down below. I'm gonna round off this video and finally take a sip of this way too hot tea because yeah. It was too hot to drink during this video. But yeah, I did have a nice cup of tea during my tea time chat. I just couldn't drink it yet. So thanks so much for watching me here today. And then I hope to see you again really soon in a new video. Tomorrow you will be seeing my new makeup releases because I kind of skipped that one last week and I do want to do it still for you. But I have loads of other content coming your way. So I hope you'd like to stay tuned for more and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye-bye.